Alrighty, Coach, if you want to get us started with an opening statement, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. We're in LA, team's ready to go. Practice today and a little more preparation tonight, but for the most part, we're ready.
Alrighty, if anyone has any questions, Jerry, you can start. I'm sure you got some.
Yeah, Coach, what's the mood in the camp right now? What can you sense the mood of your players and just kind of how everybody's feeling?
Mostly typical. We got in yesterday. We were on a couple different flights just because obviously the news was Monday or whatever. It's hard to get 40 people on one flight. But anyway, we mostly got in at the same time. One of the groups was a tiny bit delayed, but it was all good. So pretty typical night last night. We had dinner, watched a little video, had a very, very short team meeting just to go over our itinerary for the weekend. And then today, breakfast and go to the ballpark here in a little bit, lift weights after practice. Like it's just kind of typical. It feels like another, I'm sure it'll be, I'm sure it'll feel different tomorrow, but today feels like a normal road trip.
You can keep going, Jerry. If anyone has a question, just raise your hand on Zoom.
Yeah, Coach, can you get a sense about how much interest has been generated in your program over the past few weeks? All the people that turned out for the to the when y'all got home from Austin, the send off to Los Angeles. Are you beginning to get a feel for how important this has become to a lot of people?
I think so. I probably have not totally grasped it in its entirety yet, but it's a bigger deal than I anticipated. Not that I knew we were going to be here, but I knew we had a good team. I knew we had a shot when we officially got into the regional. But yeah, a lot of people are reaching out. At the stadium, we had the people greet us when we got back, and then we had the send off, and a lot of those people are pulling me aside, talking about a new stadium, and um, I've not heard that from UTSA. I'm not saying that, but I've never heard that from anyone ever in the city, from nobody. And I think people realize now we need it. What we're doing this year does not have to be an anomaly. I'm not ready to say we can do it every single year, but we can do this more than not. This can become the goal every year instead of some like huge deal like, oh my God, look what we did. It doesn't have to be that. Um, so I'm ready to talk about this stadium as much as anybody wants to talk about it because I want to stay in San Antonio.
Go ahead, Greg.
Coach, I wanted to ask about you and a lot of your players after the regional talked about the three mental things and the three physical things you guys focus on in every game. Sort of what are the origins of that kind of system, and why do you guys want to approach game planning like that?
Oh, that's a long question, Greg. The origins are simply they're just tied to my experience. I mean, really, I just sit down and I ask myself and I write like, what does success look like? Like that's where it all starts. I do it at the beginning of the year. I do it anytime we're not going good. Sometimes when we are going good, I kind of reevaluate. But basically, when we got to the regional, I just sat down and I like any person, I guess, that's in charge of a business or a entity, I just started writing down like, what does success look like? How do we win this thing? Um, and from there, it just based in experience. A big part of it is normal, boring baseball stuff like throwing strikes, 62% strikes, one walk every 3 innings. Like these are things we talk about. So the physical side of it did not change. It was very redundant to the team. It's the same three physical things we've been attempting to do all year. The mental side was a little different because the stage was bigger. A lot of times the mental side is simply aggression. But we had to address a little bit of prepare for uh, I'm trying to make sure I don't use the words I use in the team. Prepare for the weeds, prepare for something good to happen to the other team. They're good players. So, and then part of it was minimized. A big part of that is getting into control what you can control would be number two, and then minimize. Minimize is a huge part of the mental side because you're not going to, whether it's Texas or UCLA or Kansas State, you're not going to shut these people down completely. They're going to do some good things. So, but the answer to your question is simply thought, brainstorming, time, writing, and experience.
Do you do that every game or every series, or is it just kind of when the guys need to be refocused a little bit?
Yeah, mostly when we need the refocus, when things aren't going good, when the need is there. So certainly at the beginning of the year, the fall, middle of the fall, beginning of the season, as people develop, your team changes as people grow and develop, and hopefully it's in a positive way. This year we've had a lot of positive growth and development. That's not always the case. But yeah, certainly as your team evolves, you have to reevaluate because people take on greater roles or lesser roles. So yeah, it's not every day, it's not every series. If things are going good, I try to shut up and stay out of the way, which I've done a lot the second half of this year. But certainly going into the regional because of the nerves and the it was going to be in a different environment. So I wanted to prepare them. People, I don't know. I don't know that everyone does it. I think people are scared to do it, but I actually wanted to prepare them for something crappy to happen. I wanted them to feel like something crappy was going to happen. So when it happened, it wasn't an odd feeling. It was literally like when I went out there in the mound visit against Texas in the first inning of the first game we played them, and it was like, oh, literally the guys were smiling because they knew what I was about to say. And McClure, one of them said, "Well, it's here pretty early, coach," because it was the first inning. But yeah, that's where it comes from.
How important is that conversation this week as you guys step onto an even bigger stage?
Yeah, it's important. My fear is just that these are still 20-year-olds, 18-year-olds. So getting their attention in a meeting here at the hotel when it's boring, it's not always that easy, especially when things are going good. Sometimes their minds wander. So I'm a little worried about how to get their attention, but I think we'll be fine. It's a big stage, so they'll be ready to hear whatever I have to say. It won't change too much.
Go ahead, JJ.
Pat, how do you keep your guys motivated? They've had a lot of success, they've had a lot of attention, and you guys have played with the chip on your shoulder from that snub last year. It seemed like, all season long. How do you guys still keep that fire?
That's a good question. I hope, I think, and I do feel like at this time of year, because you're in such a huge environment, super regionals, there's 16 teams left. Like a lot of that's just there. They're fired up, but there is some concern for that. Kind of a funny, not funny, maybe an ironic story I shared with the guys. Tuesday, I read a little kind of scripture story in the morning called Our Daily Bread, and in Tuesdays, uh, the synopsis of the story was when you lose, it's easier to focus. And so I actually shared the Our Daily Bread story with them because I said, guys, this has me worried, which is to your question. Like, we didn't lose, we won. So are we gonna stay focused? And I thought it was poignant and possibly, from God, right? Like it hit home and it gets their attention a little bit because of the coincidental nature that just happened to be the day after we won that thing. So that was Tuesday though. But I might bring it up again, but they're going to be focused. I mean, it's a super regional. If anything, I'm gonna maybe need to calm them down a little bit, but this is such a mature group. I didn't need to do that at the regional. They were in a very optimal state of uh, competition.
What can you tell us about UCLA that you've gotten able to take a look at them, and what are kind of the keys for you guys this weekend?
Well, the shortstop's the best player. He might be the best player in the country. His name's Rock Chalowski. Dad was a first round draft pick years ago. He's phenomenal. So we're going to try not to let him beat us. The only problem with that is the kid that he hit second in the lineup. He's got 23 home runs. He's All-American. He's up for a Dick Hauser Award, which is basically a Heisman Trophy of college baseball. He'll probably win it next year. He's only a sophomore, so he's in the 2026 draft, and the early predictions there, he goes 1-1. Like, the kid is a really good baseball player. You're not going to hold him down for 3 games. You certainly can get him out, but you're not going to hold him down for 3 games. And again, the problem with him with pitching around him all the time is the kid that hits after him, the kid that hits third, Lavu. I'm not sure if that pronunciation's right, but big physical left-handed hitter's got 85 RBIs in the season. Part of it's because Rock's on base all the time, but that's where they start offensively is with those two guys. They're dangerous. Their hitting is really, really good. It's kind of ironic if you look at their walk. This is their offense. Their walks, their strikeouts, and their hit by pitch over 60. They played 61 games. We played 60 games. And those three stats are within six or eight of us, exactly like us, in terms of they walk a lot, they get hit a lot, and they don't strike out a lot. It's crazy that after 61 games, both teams that were that tight in those three stats, because obviously it's a lot of strikeouts and a lot of walks. So I just thought that was ironic. I shared that with the pitchers. I said, look, we do a good job of not striking out. We have a two-strike approach. Like, be ready to feel like you're pitching against your teammates. They're not going to go away easily. They're going to foul off some tough pitches and hang around up there. And these are things we talk about at other times, but I just want them ready for that because you can't let anxiety creep in. All you can do is take a deep breath, enjoy competing against worthy opponents, which is something we talk about. It's not always fun. Sometimes you want your opponent to stink, but there's satisfaction and there's admiration in that to compete against a worthy opponent. So we've talked about preparing for that, preparing to have long at bats if you're pitching against them, and just keep coming. Prepare for them to get base hits. You're not going to throw no hitters against these guys. So um, this is the same old stuff, really, in terms of uh, toughness, grittiness. That's what that is just keep showing up, keep throwing the next pitch, and throw it for a strike.
Go ahead, Jerry.
Yeah, Coach, I wanted to ask just a two-part question. The first, if you could update us on Drew Detlefson's status. And the second part is kind of a different question. I wanted to ask about all the players last week in Austin, the players like Lorenzo and Gunnar Brown and players that had not played all that much for you this season, all rising up to the occasion when it really mattered last weekend, and how important that was for the team. Just those two questions. First about Drew.
Yeah. So we don't have a firm uh, answer on Drew just yet. He is getting a lot of treatment, rehabbing. He has been hitting, has not been running full speed, but he looks good hitting. He does. If you just watched him take BP, you wouldn't know he was ever injured. So that's a positive sign. But we do have capable people. If he can't go, several capable people. So we feel good about that. And then as for Lorenzo and Gunner last week, yeah. Uh, Not that I'm not happy for Lorenzo, but I'm not as I think Gunner just has come further in a short amount of time. Lorenzo was with us last year. Lorenzo's a great baseball player. You would have seen Lorenzo all year and even some last year, but he's just had this nagging back injury. It's the only reason he's not a regular guy, but he's a fantastic baseball player. And the back's been feeling better for the last month. That's why you're seeing him in the lineup more. Um, so I'm not all that surprised. With Gunner, he's been a little bit up and down. He's new to the program this year. So some of you guys have wrote about it, some of the coaching that uh, I guess we're starting to get a reputation for, which is a little bit blunt and rough around the edges and rubs people the wrong way sometimes. Not everybody loves it. Like, I think we're getting a lot of positive attention for the coaching right now, but there's been times over the years when y'all weren't around that there was some negative attention the way I coached, at least with my boss. But if you're going to make do with, again, the only reason I do it is never fun to challenge people and and get on them like we do some. But if you're going to overachieve, you got to have that growth because again, we're not getting the tip top player, the player that can just come in the program and play right away. By the way, UCLA has the number one ranked recruiting class in both 2021 in the entire country, the number one ranked recruiting class in 2021 and 2023. So if you do the math, every kid on that team that's a sophomore and a senior, they're in the number one ranked recruiting class. Like you don't see that from UTSA. So again, I say all that only to say some of the positive attention I've been getting is not always positive. I'll be the first to admit it. I make mistakes as a coach. I push too hard. I've made that conscious decision that if I'm going to make a mistake, I'm going to push too hard, trying to get a player to develop in a positive winning direction. And it hasn't always been easy or fun. But that's why I bring up people like Gunnar. I say all that to say Gunnar Brown has made huge strides in a short amount of time because he just kept showing up. He took the coaching, he listened. He didn't whine, he didn't pout. No victim mentality with Gunnar. Just show up, try to do better. That ain't good enough. Okay, I'll show up and I'll try to do better. And again, he beats Texas to win win a regional. It's phenomenal for Gunnar Brown. Couldn't be more happy for him.
Go ahead, Nate.
Hey, Coach, it's 25 degrees cooler where you guys are right now than it is where you've been the last couple weeks. Obviously, the temperature is a little bit nicer probably there than it was for last weekend's regional. Does that play any impact on fatigue with your guys? Does it benefit? Does it impact pitching, hitting in any sort of way? Obviously, too, being at your longest trip away from home, being on the California coast.
I've actually given that some consideration. I don't think it affects us too much. It's cooler. There won't be quite as much fatigue. Um, I do think if we had been playing in San Antonio, it might bother them more than it bothered us. But obviously we're not. So it is a little different. The guys, we told the guys to bring long sleeve and hoodies, just in case they wanted to wear them. I don't know that they will. The first two games are still more day games than night games, but fatigue won't be as much of a factor between the pitcher and the catcher. Sometimes my experience back in those regionals in the early 2000s when I was at Rice and we were doing this every year, you'd have to watch your pitching and catching. Certainly after a couple days, you play 102 degrees and humid, the catcher can wear down. But so there won't be as much of a concern for that. It's a pretty typical weekend. The weather looks beautiful.
Go ahead, Jason. Go ahead,
Pat,
Denny.
Pat, you mentioned wanting to talk about a stadium as much as you can. What's your hope there? Like you want to renovate the existing one, try and get something new built, just at least jumpstart the discussion. Like what's short term, what's long term for you?
My hope is the UTSA officials have a plan for something. I know it's a huge, huge undertaking. Um, but that's what we need first and foremost, even above a bigger NIL budget and scholarships. Baseball scholarships, this is the last year that they're capped at 11.7. They open up to you're allowed to have 34 full scholarships next year. You know, the NIL collective's a thing. So even before we try to address that, my first priority is and always has been some kind of facility upgrade. It doesn't have to be the Taj Mahal. We need something so we don't lose recruits and players. Just something that says we care about baseball and we are invested. When you, the baseball player at UTSA, overachieves and does what you're currently doing, we want to give back to you. That message needs to be sent by the people running UTSA. Otherwise, we lose players and we don't do this anymore. If that's what they want, that's what they're going to get.
Go ahead, Jared.
Yeah, Coach, have you told your players who will be starting pitching for you tomorrow?
No, we haven't made that decision.
Do you think, as far as UCLA is concerned, do you think it's the name escapes me, but the kid that's 11-1, do you suspect that he'll be the opening day for them?
That's Barnett. Um, Maybe they have a couple options. If I had to guess, I'd say Barnett, but Barnett was their Saturday guy during the season. The lefty May was their Friday night guy,
Oh,
at least
okay.
uh, early on, they had a different guy. But for the back two-thirds or at least half the season, they would go May on Friday and Barnett on Saturday and Stump on Sunday. They also have a kid named Moss they really like. He's made 7 starts. He's been hurt. He's back. He's pitched the last 3 weekends. Really good arm, freshman. Um, and he does have 7 starts, kind of a mixture on Tuesdays and some early starts. So, and the arm's really good, really talented. It's the classic UCLA type big pro prospect. So I wouldn't be shocked if any one of those four start. They might want to keep May. They use May in the bullpen. They're not for a power four that's a frontline program and heavily loaded. They're not as deep in their bullpen with left-handed pitching as I'm sure they want to be, like Texas was, and most of the power fours load up on those lefties in the bullpen to match you up late. UCLA, for whatever reason, doesn't have that. They do have one bullpen arm that's left-handed, but they use May out of the bullpen in the regional, I think for that reason. They wanted the lefty in the bullpen. They wanted another lefty in the bullpen. So these are all possibilities. We're preparing for all of them. The guys are, we've watched video and done some of our training for multiple guys. So I think tonight we'll be ready. I don't know if they're ready. They'll be ready to trade, and we'll go from there.
Thank you.
All righty, we'll wrap it up with a couple questions from Vinny.
Hey, Coach, how far has this team come from the mental standpoint? And obviously, we see it in the record, but how far have they come from maybe last year or maybe even just this year with that mentality of knowing how to win at the highest level that was evidenced, obviously, by last weekend?
Well, last weekend obviously makes the question easier to answer. They've come a long way, but I want to give the players their credit. They started out at a place, whether it was their parents or the player, like these people, Norris McClure, Drew Detlefson, both the Hodge brothers, like these are new players that in the fall I coached them, and Aguayo and Coach Butler, we coached them very aggressive, very I call it like not a lot of get to know you, not a lot of kumbaya. Hey, we really do like you and all that stuff. Like that's not us. Like it was very simply like let's play ball when the quality of effort or mental focus is not what it should be. It's very abrupt and in your face. And and Drew are the perfect example because their talent is so high. Those are the guys I tend to push the most because they got the greatest ceiling for achievement. And both those kids never batted an eye. A lot of times when we first get into this and go and push and say no that and I mean people think it's easy and fun when they hear me talk like this. Like these are rough days. These are days where someone that's supposed to be quote your coach and in your corner, and he's telling you it ain't good enough and you think you're doing everything you anyway. But to Drew's credit and Norris's credit, like they started at a point. I knew the very first couple times I got on them, I would tell Coach Aguayo, they don't they don't pout when I get on them. They don't go into the shell and worry about, oh, what do my teammates think of me? Like they just were the same people. They'd show up the next day. Norris would be a little too giggly for me, and I'd get on him, and he just shows up the next day, and he's same old Norris. Like, and now it's evident to me that whoever, whether it was them or their parents, that got this maturity and focus into them deserves the credit. Because for it to happen this quick, it's usually a process that takes a good couple years. We get the toughness usually in year 2. You start to see a tougher individual, and then if we get them the 3rd year, they're mean SOB, like we like them, and it's all business. But this group, it happened a little quicker, and that's not because of me. That's because of someone that got them before me.
And then I would just follow up with I was looking at those stats that you mentioned to JJ. What is coaching in these chess match type series like, where offensively it is so close?
Yeah, in the moment it's not always fun, but I enjoy the preparation. I really do. I enjoyed this week of looking at who they could go to based on our lineup, and then who I can go to based on who they go to. because this is a rare team. Our team is a rare team for a mid-major. We can match people up. We do have a little bit of lefty-righty matchup combination. So I enjoy it. You know, in the moment, there is obviously just like anybody. I worry a little bit that I'll make a wrong decision, but you can't spend too much time on that. I mean, in the long run, I'm going to make some wrong decisions. You can't be right every time. You know, sometimes you're going to make the right decision. It's not going to work out, and you're going to make the wrong decision and it is going to work out. Like, but for the most part, I'm just trying to do my homework now, so I'm prepared for anything that Coach Savage and those guys might do. I mean, I'm sure he's doing the same thing. You just want to know the personnel. Obviously, I know my personnel at this point in the year, but I'm trying to familiarize myself with UCLA's personnel, what they do well, how Coach Savage likes to use them, so I can make the best decision for our bunch. And I enjoy it. I do enjoy it.
All righty. Thank you for everyone for joining. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.